In this series of videos, you'll learn everything you need to know to get started in the world of Adobe Animate. Let's do it.
TipTut.
Part 4. Finalization, tweaking, and export. Hello everybody and welcome back to TipTut and welcome back to Intro to Adobe Animate. Last time we took a look at animating these trees sliding in there. We did our first one on camera, the one on the right, and as you can see from inside the symbol that it's grouped in, it's just a case of using the bone tool to reposition the branches and segments of that section. And then off camera, I just did the same thing to this one over here. Obviously slightly different tree, but exactly the same. Our final step then is to add this bird that we can see on the sketch layer here. And to do that, we're going to use a combination of all the techniques that we've done so far, which is why we've left it to last. So I'm just going to add in a new layer, and then I'm going to do something really useful, which is check this view only active layer button. And that's just going to collapse away everything that I don't need, just so that I can have as much space as possible on screen to show this bird. So I'm going to scrub to the point where the branch stops moving, and I'm going to hit F6 to add a keyframe. We're going to start our local animation here and then work backwards and forwards from that, so we know that at this point when the bird lands, the branch has stopped moving. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to grab my sort of light green brush here and my normal brush tool. Ignore that warning. I'm just going to start sketching out the first pose for this bird. I'm going to do this first pose fully, i.e. I'm going to draw him in properly. And the rest of these poses on camera, I'm just going to do the sketches. And then I'll time lapse through the rest of the bits, because you don't need to see me drawing the same bird over and over again, but it will be useful to hear my thought process when it comes to why I made the decisions I did when animating. So, starting in the middle, so that we know that bird's going to be rooted on the branch. Hit K there to fill that guy in. Then I'm going to go back up to my orange brush here, and I'm going to change my tool settings to be paint behind. I'm going to decrease the size of my brush for this one. In fact, maybe I'll go even smaller because we're going to be outlining stuff. That's going to paint that beak behind there. And then I'll add in his legs, which are the darkest purple-black color here. Again, still on paint behind. And we'll just have him settled on the branch, like so. Perfect. Let's bring back our other layers and hide our sketch layer, because we don't need it anymore. Boom. I'm going to drag my bird layer all the way to the top, and of course rename it bird, because labeling your layers is very important. Also important is staying energized. So I've got a bit of coffee. Right. We have the base of our bird. So now that we've got that, I'm just going to hit F8 and call this bird. It's a graphic, that's fine. Zoom out a little bit and start adding in the shapes that's going to make the bird actually look like a bird. We're going to select this shape here, and I'm going to choose in my brush tool options, paint selection. Deselect it for a moment so that when I choose this darker color, it doesn't repaint the whole bird. And then I'm just going to draw in some shapes for its wings and its butt, like so. And I'm tempted, would there be an eye? Would you be able to see an eye from here? Yeah, I think you should be able to see one eye. Should that have like a little whoop? No, that's too much. Okay, that looks pretty good. Happy with that. So we use that as our reference frame for our first layer. Now we need to add in a whole bunch of frames here because where we started our bird in the middle of our timeline, that's going to now be the first frame of that animation. We want to go to our frame picker and actually make sure it's on the 45th frame so that when we start animating, we know we're in the right place. So we've got 45 there. That's fine. Now when we drop inside here, we'll be on the 45th frame and we can animate backwards and forwards as we like. So because we're going to be animating on 2s, I'm just going to hit F6 on the 46th frame because we're animating on 2s and 45 doesn't go into 2. And I'm just going to delete everything before that. What I will also do is hit Control C here to copy that to the clipboard just in case I need it. I'll also hit F8, call it bird inner, or let's call it bird reference, so we can bring back that original bird at any point that we want. I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to hit paste in place to bring back the editable paint version of the bird. Now I'm going to add a layer underneath that for our sketches, just so that I don't break anything. Now, I want this bird to fly in shortly before the branch is settled, so we'll do that first. And we're just going to kind of try and go straight ahead on this. A lot of the time we'll do keyframe poses, so I might give that a go, and then later on we'll go straight ahead, which is just animating front to back. Keyframing is animating the key points of your animation, every point where movement stops going in one direction and starts going in another. Excuse me. And then you do the in-betweens, which is called tweening. So the first thing we want is this bird to land. So we just want to roughly sketch out. Oh, excuse me, I've still got paint behind on there. I'll choose a darker color. So what I quite like to do is if I lock off this top layer, let's actually bring the sketch on top for now. What I quite like to do to make sure I'm maintaining scale quickly is I will just sketch over any parts I know that are going to be consistent. Just roughly, like so. Then grab all that artwork and move it to where I want that new position to be. So I can hit Q, for example, to rotate this because we're going to have the bird sort of flopping in and landing. So L would grab that lasso, Q would turn the wing, and just roughly repositioning. So now I've got a good base that I know is the right size for when I want this bird to land. So his body's going to kind of be like this, with his tail coming out and his little legs leaning in for a landing. And his wings are going to be sort of back out like that. So he's going to come in, move that over 2 frames. Oops, excuse me, that was the wrong layer. We're working on the top, aren't we? Move that over 2 frames. Boom, boom. So let's add in a new keyframe there, because what I'm going to do on this previous one is stretch this guy out a little bit, rotate him a little bit, and move him up. And then on this frame, I'm going to delete and turn on my onion skin tool. Now, I want this bird's movements to be quite snappy, like, you know, as if it was like a little bird that actually moves. You always see them kind of whipping their heads around really quickly. So luckily for us, that means there won't be much in the way of in-betweening. So what I'm going to do is just roughly draw out where I want this guy to land. Like so. He's still going to have his wings up, I think, for this frame. He's just coming in. And we'll worry about the positioning. So you can shift the sort of the whole thing, which is good. His tail is going to be pushing up like that. So, boom. Let's add in another keyframe here. I'm going to shift these back again. And we want this, like, as he lands, he's going to have to go boom, to come back up. So we'll have him kind of pushing, then his top wing, and both bottom wings actually would have him compressing. So his tail might whip around like that, and his front wings might be coming out. Boom, boom. And he'd have little curved legs. And his beak would be down. Then we'd need a frame where he kind of whips around. To his original position. Now the beak there, I'm kind of squashing and stretching it. As it whips from sort of this position around to this position, then you'd see this kind of, and if you use that kind of stretched imagery, it makes it feel more snappy. So we'd bring his wings maybe back a little bit. His tail would be maybe up a little bit higher. And his wing would be just maybe out a little bit here. And his legs would be the same. So he'd have to land, really cushion himself in. So we definitely need another frame in there. This time I'm just going to hit F6 and duplicate this frame. And I'm just going to squash and stretch him to fit the position. Because remember, these are only just rough sketches for the moment. So he's going to squash and stretch. Boom. 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 So drag that guy back a bit. Again, we're just blocking out the key moments and then we'll worry about the timing in a minute. And then I'll just quickly draw a finishing sketch where he's in the original position. Right, so let's get ourselves some timings. Boom. So you can see already, boom, boom. That looks all right. But first of all, that would need, I think, to stretch out a bit more. Like that. And then that definitely needs to hold this position for a bit longer before he starts to whip back. And then I think it just needs one more settling frame here. So it just needs one where it's kind of almost there, but not quite. Maybe his feathers are a bit ruffled. And it's more about that movement of the beak there for that one. So let's bring that guy back in. That looks pretty good. So you can see like there, the tail is kind of really twisting upwards. And then as it lands, it shoots the other way. And I think what we need is, in fact, that tail to push even further on that one. And then as he's coming back up, it needs to kind of swing back into position a little bit more. So it would definitely be stretching like that. Boom. Boom. Nice. Okay, so we've got him settled. He's landed. So we'll make sure that finished landing pose is in time with the actual sketch we've done. Landing. Boom. Then we just want him to sort of twitch about for a few frames, and then he's going to flap and launch off. So we'll hit another keyframe here. And we'll just basically draw him with his head looking in the different direction. So he'll be looking over there instead. I want his body to end up back in the same position, but his wings would definitely like shift a little bit for stabilization, I think. You can have to temporarily hide that back layer. Like that. So he might just go like this. But what he'd definitely do is, if we add in 2 keyframes, first of all, he'd definitely, yeah, that's like that, isn't it? Yeah. So first of all, if we select this guy, he definitely like squeeze into the motion a little bit. So he'd shift down before popping back up. Overshooting a little bit. And then settling. See, that's got that little subtle movement. Then we've got that. Boom. Then let's have him just duplicate that motion. So we'll grab those frames, hold Alt, drag them along. And then what we'll do is we'll add in another keyframe here, just so that we can flip and reverse these keyframes by selecting them and choosing reverse frames. Then we can clear this keyframe. If you don't do that, it'll create some weird little blank keyframes all over the place. Ooh, there you go, he's gone back. Looks pretty good. Then we'll have him really lean into a flap and then just off of the stage. So we are going to need another keyframe. What I'm going to do this time is just go straight into the. So as he leans down, his beak would probably drop to build power. So we'll do that. He'd open up his wings. Wide as he can. A little butt would stick out. His tail would definitely lift. His little legs would scrunch a little bit. Right, so we need the settling frame for that one. So we'd have his wings be up a little bit more. His butt be like that. His whole body would just be slightly higher. And his tail would be lower as it reaches into it. We definitely need this guy to settle, really settle and squish into this position. So we'll just do a couple frames of him building power. And then we'll have one frame of him just absolutely launching. Now, a cool thing I've seen is where people leave when they have like a ball, yeah, and then it lands and squishes. When they want to go back up with loads of power, usually what they'll do is have it sort of stretch out like that. And if this was the floor, you know, what I've seen some people do, which gives it really oomph, is they'll actually leave it touching the floor on that frame, and then on the next frame have it like all the way up there, and that really adds like a snappy like to the movement. So that's what I'm going to try and do with this bird here. So I'm going to squash and stretch his head a little bit. He's also going to be then looking back up into the sky. So maybe what we can do is have his beak be like, don't know whether that's going to work or not, so we'll just maybe do it like that. And we're going to have him really stretch out his body, like boom. Almost like he's made of jello. Jello. I've been watching too much American TV there. Have his foot be in exactly the same space. His legs are stretching out. And his wings are just really stretched out. Bam. Bam. And his tail's bam. All the way down there. Like that. And on the next frame, he's just like way up here. Actually, we could probably just copy and shift this guy up. Then we'll have him disappear. So I want him to go off frame, like up here. And then we're going to have a little bird flapping away in the distance, I think. So let's see what that looks like. Boom, 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 boom. Nice. So I think all that needs is one leading frame from that animation. So we'll just add in a little bit of easing here. So he'll start to move his body down. His beak's going to kind of snap down with it, I think. And we'll just make his wings start to come out like that. And this wing start to come out like that. His body starts to squash down. His tail starts to lift. Like so. His legs start to bend like that. And then, yeah. So he's gone off screen. And then we want him to just, after a while, this little shape. Oh, excuse me, that's got and then disappear. And after a while, we want this little shape to just sort of come back in the distance here. like so. Maybe he starts pushing his wings downwards. And then as he gets smaller and smaller, he'll just disappear into the distance. See what that looks like. I literally just did that straight ahead without thinking. So let's see if that looks any good. That looks okay. I think his body needs to settle more. And then he's kind of lifting, so he'd actually go down at that point. Back up. And then, yeah. Maybe we won't do that bit. Who knows? I think it'll do for now, for the sake of this tutorial. I'll probably tidy it up in this time lapse. So he comes in, he lands, he looks around, he flaps off, and he disappears. That looks okay. That land looks a bit clunky. I think he needs a more. Boom. He's got a real big land, but he kind of then just. He needs to kind of lean into it more before he starts to come back up. So I think what we'll do is we'll add in another frame there, F6, and we'll just have him really lean in before he starts to snap back up. Bam, bam, bam. I think maybe what needs to happen is he needs to overshoot it a little bit. So if we move this 2 frames back, like so, and then the final frame's like this, what we'll do is we'll have him kind of just overshoot his beak there. Yes, Phoebe. What is it, baby? Nothing? Right, I see. Sorry, my cat's moaning. That's all she does. You've been fed. You've had loads of treats. I've opened the window for you 1 billion times. You decided you didn't want to go out because it's cold. Yeah, that looks right. Let's add in another settling frame. Just a really subtle one. Shimmy those back. And just have him settle down. Which should bring him to match that guy roughly. Good. That looks pretty good to me. All right. So those are the rough frames for our bird. Let's look at them in context of the animation. So from the start, the trees come in. Oh, what we haven't done there is drag that first frame back and then set our frame picker to be frame 1. Boom. That looks quite nice. We do need some more time apparently though. So we will grab our last keyframes and we'll just drag them out a whole bunch. Oops, I balled something up there. Oh no, I didn't. It just took a while to catch up. Oh, I did ball something up there. Let's give myself a bit of breathing room, see what we're working with. See how many frames I need for my board. So I need a minimum of, let's say 170 frames. Oh, this is just bump, isn't it? So we'll remove those. I need 170 frames for this animation. We are currently on 115. So what I'll do is I'll just F5 over here, like that, unlock these, and see if we can't just drag them. If that kind of breaks it, then it breaks it. But I don't think it will. No. Cool. Now let's look at the final thing. Comes in, bird lands. Phew. Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. What I might do, because we've just extended that animation a bit, is I'll grab some of my background mountain layers, and I'll just push them a little bit further out so that we don't lose that sense of motion in the mountains here. Luckily, because the tree's in the way, I can afford to push it a little bit further, and that just adds some of that motion back in. I might come back and just make these leaves drift a little bit later on, just in the same way I did before by adding those bone tool animations. But for now, I think it's time to clean up our bird sketch. So we know that the timings are right, so we can do all of this inside our bird layer, which I did not click. Here we go. And for simplicity's sake, if you wanted to, you could even just open this up from the library so you don't see any of this background stuff. If you go to your library here and you open up Bulb, you'll see that it opens it up in kind of like its own little isolated world with no other distractions. So it's really easy to draw, which is what I think I'm going to do. So I'm going to delete this guy here, clear keyframe, because what I'm going to do is bring in from the library bird reference. Oops, that layer was locked. Bird reference, nice. And then I'm just going to pop bird reference near him so that I can eyedropper the colors that I need. I can eyedropper the colors that I need. I can use it for scale referencing and stuff like that. And it also means that it's not going to like jump weirdly if I don't draw it exactly like that previous frame. So we're going to go through and animate this now. What I'm going to do with you guys is I'm going to do this section with you, and then the rest of it I'll do just in a time lapse. So let's do it. I'm going to drag my sketch layer to the bottom, and I'm going to turn it to outline mode so it's slightly less distracting, and then I'm going to lock it, and that just allows me to see just the current frame that I'm working on. If you want to use the onion skin tool again, you can unlock it and work from there, but it will mean that as you're drawing, you might accidentally select it. So I just like to lock it away and then unlock it when I want to check it against the reference of the other layers. So let's add in a new layer on top. We'll drag our reference layer down to the very bottom, and we'll start doing some of these keyframes here. So we have our first bird, like here, like so. I'm going to eyedropper that green, go to my brush tool, and I'm going to start going crazy. So carefully now, because this is where you actually need to refine your sketch work. You need to start making sure that your work is clean, that the edges of your shapes are smooth, that you're happy with the final shape. And luckily for us, this kind of technique here means that you can just draw these solid lines, and you can then just add in these little textured lines here to bring the shape back. So it's actually going to be quite quick and easy for us, I think. That tail tapers off a bit thinly, so we'll just thicken that out. Now, what I might do is grab my paint behind tool. I pop out the properties for now. I'm going to pop out the properties and bring them over here because I'm going to be switching between this stuff quite often. I might also pop out as well my swatches and do that and pop them up here too, just so that I can really quickly grab the colors that I need. And when I'm doing things like paint selection, for example, excuse me, when I'm doing things like paint selection, I can switch between stuff really simply and easily. So we need to add in indications of the wings separating. So that top wing, it would obviously be like over there. Remember, this is only on screen rather, for a few seconds. Not even that, a few frames, sorry. So whilst that doesn't excuse sloppiness, it certainly does mean that, especially in these squash and stretch frames, you can be quite liberal. Drawing his eye. Grab our darker colors. Make sure we've got his legs in there. Oops. So I need to swap to paint behind for that one now. Like so. I have this other leg coming in for a landing. And then we've got our orange beak. Bam. All right. So the next frame is quite far away from that. I could try and squash and stretch this guy into position, but I might just redraw it. And then just, yeah, let's just redraw it. So we've got our green color again. We can leave it on paint behind because there's nothing on this layer. So, and now I'm just going to flick back and forth to make sure that I've got the sort of right sizes, that his head's not suddenly become a little bit smaller. For example, his wings are kind of got a similar taper to them. All these little details that make things look somewhat okay. His body's going to be really stretching at this point because he's quite a floppy bird. His tail is going to be whoosh, coming out all the way. Like so. Looks all right. Let's get that beak in there. Let's get his legs in too. Reaching out to land on the branch here. So really stretching. Like so. And let's go to paint normal. Drawing a little stretched eye. Select our bird. Go to paint selection. And draw in some of our bird shapes. Like so. That's pretty good. Yeah, happy with that. Move on to the next frame then. For some reason it seems to be preferring zooming over here. So I'm just going to pop those things over onto the other side of the screen. Now here's where we need to start making sure we've really constraining our sizes properly because the bird's sort of coming to a stop. So at this point, it might be useful to turn your onion skin back on and just make sure that you don't select that layer. We should be fine because we're not doing any actually manual selection on our stage. So our bird has landed on the branch. Oops, still got paint selection on. Our bird's landed on the branch. We've filled in his head. His body is kind of splooshing forward and all the weight's shifting towards his belly. And his wings have completely come to the other way. Boom. Wing number one. Boom. Wing number two. Fill those in. Lock this layer again. So it's a bit easier to see what we're doing. And his tail is really whipping. So what I might do is like a really big squash and stretch here. The faster the movement, the bigger the squash and stretch. I accidentally turned that into an object there by misclicking with my pen. So we'll just break those down again with Control B. Remember that from last episode. And we'll make sure that when we've got our tool selected, brush options are turned off. Object options are turned off. My mistake there. So we need our legs now. So we'll turn that to paint behind. And at this point, he's kind of rooted on the branch. So it's kind of important that his feet stay in the same position. We need our beak, paint behind. Nice. And we need to select our bird. You can see there, that's got a little brush still, so we don't want that. Select our bird, go to the dark green. Oops. Okay, let's try that again. Select our dark green, go to the bird, then change to paint selection. And then at this point, I guess we want a separation line there, as well as there, and there, and here. My cat's moaning to go out, so I'm just going to go let her out, and then I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. So we've got our bird. He's got an eyeball. It's true. And let's take a look. Nice. Cool. He's coming in. So let's start looking at his recovery frames. So he's really down there. And then he wants to get even more squished. So for this one, I'm going to draw this frame. And then I think the next three are just him squishing. So I don't need to redraw those, which is good. We'll go to here. We'll go to paint behind. We'll try and pan when it lets me. And we'll just draw ourselves a nice little void. Where is my board? Remember that from Iron Man 2? I want my board. I remember that. He wants his tail to be really squished. Like that. He wants his beak to be kind of down facing. And he wants some legs, I'm sure. So we'll give him some legs. Again, making sure now that his feet are rooted that they don't change too much per frame. Select our color, then select our bird, then go to paint selection. Separate out those wings and the tail. Now, and the eye. Now we don't have to redraw this frame. We can just hit F6 and we can pin where his feet are and we can just squash him a little bit. Then we can hit, I think he's squashing again in this frame. Is that right? Let's just delete that. See. Yeah, I think we can just get away with just squashing him again. We don't need that tail to go that far. Because in the next frame, he's kind of whipping back anyway. And I think I overdid it with that tail. So we'll just squash him down. Nice. F7 on that frame there. And now it's back to redrawing our bird. So we'll bring up his head. Like so. Good, looking good. Get the curve of his back and the curve of his body in there too. As well as the whip of that tail. Then we need paint behind, which is still on. And this is where we can start to just really squash and stretch that beak a little bit as he whips it around. He's straightened his legs, but his feet should remain. I mean, he's turning his feet, to be fair. So we could probably have his heel stay in the same place, but his toes are going to start to face the other way as he turns his feet around. Select the darker color, select our bird. Go to paint selection. Now is where we need to start following these lines, these styles of lines here. Because we're starting to mimic our initial pose. He's going to be whipping around. Woo! He looks kind of derpy there, but don't worry. He won't for long. Because he's going to start settling in. And at this point, he's just... bam. So now what I'm going to do is copy this guy. And I think I want him to be that frame. So I'm going to hit F6 there, paste him in place. We'll pop him like that. We'll break him apart. And we'll delete his legs. I don't like the way his feet look. I prefer the way I've drawn him this way around. So we'll have him... if we just use this frame for a reference. About there. Where have his feet be? Looking that way. Like that. So that's the frame that we want this little section to end up on. So what we can do is just F6, Q, root, and do the overshoot frames from here. and then copy, F6, delete, paste in place. So we've got boom, boom. And now what I need to do is draw this final transitionary frame, which is going to look pretty close to what we want. So I'm going to turn off onion skin for this because that sketch is pretty accurate to where we want it to be, apart from the legs. So I'll do the legs first. So we want these legs to kind of pop, 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 be transitioning in that motion, that twisting motion. Then we'll get our body and just paint normal for a second. Yeah. So now we can kind of roughly follow the sketch. Cover up these little black bits so that we can fill in this bird. That's a bit hefty over there, so we'll just neaten that section up. Like that. Nice. So let's draw in the tail. Bam. Go back to painting behind. And we'll just fix that beak. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now we just need our darker sections with paint selection. And we'll whip that guy up there, whip that guy there, here and here, like so. His eye kind of freaks out now when I got the positioning wrong. Yeah, he kind of jumps down and then goes back. So we want his eye to be more like there-ish. Yes, I'll do. Cool. Oops, I've been drawing his butt section wrong there too. So we'll just fix that. Because it goes up like this, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, sweet. Okay, so let's take a look. I'll repin my swatches and things up here. And we'll take a look at what we got. So he comes in. Nice. Boom. Boom. That looks pretty good, I think. So if we hide our sketch layer. There. Pretty happy with that. So let's just watch that on loop a few times. Yeah, that looks quite nice. So that's the process that I'm going to continue with now for the rest of these frames. Exactly the same thing. So you don't need to watch me do that. I'll do it in fast forward. And then I'll see you on the other side of our little animation segment. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so there we have it. That is our bird fully animated. He drops into frame, looks around a little bit, and launches himself off before shooting off into the distance. So let's have a look at that on our stage. So we'll save this here, and we can go back to our normal timeline. So we're inside the bird symbol at the moment, so we just need to go back to scene 1. Let's make it a little bit bigger so we can see what's going on. And start from the beginning. She's come in, the bird lands, looks around. launches himself off into the distance. That looks pretty good. Kind of quick there on the entry. So what I might do is grab our bird symbol, and you can see it kind of just pops in here. So I'm just literally going to grab this frame, hold Alt, drag it this way a little bit, and just kind of move him up a touch. Maybe squash and stretch him a bit. And this one, we'll just even out the distance between those two frames. Yeah, that's much better. One little extra bit of frame makes all the difference. So you'll be pleased to know that we are done inside of Adobe Animate. We're going to hit Control Enter to create ourselves our little test SWF and have a look at it full screen. Looks pretty good. Now the last step is just to add a little bit of texture and stuff to this inside of After Effects. So we're going to jump into there and just do the final touches. Okay, so here we are inside of After Effects. What we're going to do is go to our project panel, hit Control I to import our AA 2020 file or whatever it is that you've called it. It might ask you to create a folder. If you do, just hit yes. Make sure it's somewhere near your project just for convenience. And that's going to create a composition for you with the name of your SWF file, which if you scrub through, you should see you've got your entire animation ready to go. Just going to drop it into quarter resolution so that we can watch it go. And as you can see, it's maintained all of the animation that we've done previously, but it's also separated out each of our layers into different SWF files inside of After Effects, which is going to be really useful for us. Because we're going to add some nice roughen edges and some nice posterized time effects to smooth out some of these animations. So if you can see inside Adobe Animate here, some of our animations are done frame by frame, such as the bird, but some of them, like the movement of these trees and things, are done with motion tweens. Now, our bird is actually on 12 frames per second because we've animated every second frame, but our rest of our animation is on 24 frames per second because it's using these motion tweens that animate every single frame. If you want to fix that, it's very simple. You just need to create a adjustment layer, which is Control Alt and Y. And then using your effects and presets panel up here, or for me, I've got a shortcut. I'm going to type in posterize, and then I want the effect posterize time. And I change that frame rate to 12. And what that does is it will just cut out every second frame. And because we did all of the animation on twos, it will cut out the frames of the trees, the motion tweens of the trees, but it won't cut out any of the motion of the birds or anything like that, because that's already animated at 12 frames per second. So if we pre-render this little section now, you'll see it looks a little bit more, janky, which is nice. That's the effect that we want. So we have our adjustment layer, like so. What I want to do now is roughen up some of these edges a little bit. It looks a little bit too clean for me. We could add a roughen edges to this adjustment layer and it will roughen everything below it. But let me show you what happens when you do that. If we just type in roughen edges and we increase the roughen, you'll notice it will just roughen all of the edges around the edge of the canvas, which is technically what we told it to do. So what we're going to be doing instead is just taking our sky layers. So for example, we use this one here as our first example, and we're just going to apply our roughen edges directly to that. Now, it is only going to affect the edge of the canvas or edge of that layer. So that is obviously only going to affect this section up here, none of this. If you wanted it to affect this, you can. You just have to separate out the layers. For me, I'm happy with it just affecting this edge border here. So what I'm going to do is just increase the complexity of this a little bit. That looks quite nice. Maybe bring this up to, say, 15. Oh, that's a bit much, actually, 15. Let's have 12. Yeah, that's good. Edge sharpness, bring it up to about 3. Brings back in some of that crunchiness. And as you can see, that just takes the edges here and kind of like roughens them up, which is nice. Then we can just, once you're happy with that effect, copy and paste it to each layer. See, that one on the ocean looks a bit too rough, so we'll just reduce that down to maybe 8. Edge sharpness maybe down to 1.5 instead. That's pretty good. Then we can do the same for these cloud layers. Cloud right, cloud left, the boat. Whoa, that boat is way too much. So we'll turn that border down to about 4. Mountains at the back, looks good. Mountains at the front, looks good, apart from the edge there, so we'll just have to fix that. The trees, ooh, a bit too much again, so we'll just drop that down to about 4. Yeah. Trees left, we'll do the same, drop it down to about 4. And all these steps are entirely optional. It's just something that I quite like. That bird looks a bit derpy. So again, we'll drop him down to about 4 as well. Now you can see we've got all these edges here. So to fix that, you literally just need to grab your scale and maybe put it up to 101 or something rather than 100%. So 101. And I'm kind of rushing through this, but that's because it's entirely optional. You really don't need to do it. Just something that I enjoy. I think it makes it look a little bit nicer, a little bit more cool. I probably will go back in and separate out these layers. Let's see how easy that is to do. I think in the sky, yeah, we've actually got this sky already kind of on its own layers. So what I'm going to do is just cut these, go back to my first frame, add in a few more layers here, paste them, cut this one, paste it, reposition that sun, just check that it all looks good still. Nice. So we will update that FLA and SWF file. Now that won't update here, but it also, you'll have to re-import like this. So what you can do is just import like so, import the same file again. It will create a new series of folders for it. Unfortunately, it doesn't auto update, which to me is completely baffling. You can delete the composition that you're not using, as well as the older folder if you wanted to. So I'm just going to drag these 2 layers into this folder and delete that one. Then I'm going to grab both of these layers. Excuse me. I also need the base sky layer because that's now different. So we'll take you, and you. So that one, and that one are new. Delete those. Delete the sky layer in here. Grab our new sky layer and our new other 2 layers and pop them in. Make sure they're in the right order. And then add our Roughen Edges effect to each of them. So effect controls, we'll just copy that from the ocean layer. Go to our sky base layer, paste that. Is that about right? I think I did 12, didn't I? For these sky layers. Yeah, they look really rough. So we'll do 12 for that one. We'll do 8 for that one. That's pretty good. And we'll do maybe 4 for this one. Yeah, that looks quite nice. So now we've got all of our roughen edges happening. We'll just save so that we don't lose anything. We can scrub through, see that we're happy. Yep, sounds good. And the last thing that I like to do is just add a little bit of noise. Usually that's 10% and it's not color. And that just adds this kind of nice graininess to it as well, which is something that people seem to like. And then just export, which I won't cover because you literally just need to take this, open up Media Encoder, drag and drop and hit play, and it'll be totally fine. So we'll just quickly do that. And then we are completely done. And there we have it, our completely finished Adobe Animate animation. The last little touches in After Effects are entirely optional. If you like that clean look, you can absolutely keep it. It's totally up to you. Thank you very much for joining me on this journey, you guys. If anyone has stuck it out to the end, congratulations, you're an absolute legend. I hope you found this a little bit useful. I know sort of episode 3, I got a bit rough. I was having a tough time, I kept getting interrupted. So I felt like the quality of it was still good enough. But hopefully you guys can sort of muddle along through and create something that you're happy with. If you do create something, let me know. Show me on social media, just at TipTut Zone, and I'll give you feedback and comments and stuff. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, you guys. I've had a lot of fun with this one, and hopefully I'll see you all next time on another episode of TipTut.
Remember to subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.